Hello, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the first live session for A to Z Graphology. I'm new to this mode of connecting with people, but I'm sure we'll all learn together. All right. So, the main purpose of this live session is to interact with the audience and interact with students so that we can answer questions and clarify doubts. And if you have any queries that you would like me to answer to, you can post your questions in the chat box, and to the best of my ability, we'll try to get them sorted. All right. So I hope you're able to hear me clearly today. All right. Thank you very much. So I hope you all are having a good morning or evening or afternoon wherever you are right now. Thank you very much. All right. So we have a few questions which were earlier posted on my channel, and I would like to talk to you all about it. So some people have a doubt of how graphology works and whether it's easy to analyze. So graphology is like a skill, just like how mathematics is. Graphology also takes a bit of practice. So if you learn graphology well and if you are alert with the concepts, then certainly graphology will be more fun than a tedious task. Sometimes when we talk about mathematics or we talk about uh, calculations, people get scared that will I be able to cope up with the requirement. But in graphology, what happens is that as you calculate or understand a person through their writing, the feedback that the person gives is very exciting, and the surprise factor that happens is what a graphologist really feeds upon. So when we have analysis to be done, it's just a matter of making sure that we are observing things correctly, and then when we say it, of course, that requires a bit of skill. Sometimes what we say to the person may or may not be acceptable to the person because they don't want you to know something about them. So that's also fine, as long as you represent that thought in a gentle, cordial manner. Most of the analysis people accept. All right. So we have a question here. Do numbers depict traits in handwriting? Yes. So whether it's numbers, or whether it's letter structures, whether it's a drawing, whether it's a doodling, any mark on the paper, even if it's a dot, a circle, a line, anything can give clues or information. It's like a body language on paper. So let's take, for example, right now you can see my hand in front of you. If I uh, point my finger upwards, there's a kind of a information that this body language is giving you. If I do this, then this has no direct meaning, but when you do this, there's a understanding in your head that happens with this symbol. Then if I do like this, then again this symbol is going to be very important in terms of whatever it represents, something nice, something good. So if this can have meaning, so that even my movement of my hands can write. and show some meaning. So yes, numbers do depict traits in handwriting. Although the research on what it might show is not very consistent right now and not confirmed, but it's just a matter of understanding how uh, the structures and the letter formations or the number formations are working, and then when you calculate it, you can do it on the spot. So when we talk about whether numbers depict any traits, it depends on which language the number is written, because in different languages number structures change. So in one language a certain number will mean a certain thing, and in another language it may mean a different thing. Although they represent the quantity in the same way, but the way the person perceives it could be different. All right. So I will try to speak in English and Hindi. We have an audience which is at a global level. So if I speak in Hindi, then some people may not understand the response. And if I speak in English, some people who are good at Hindi may not be able to respond anyway. So we'll stick to English for some time, and if required, Hindi will be used. All right. So we have a question here. What should you focus on the most in graphology? Well, now the first thing that you need to focus on is skill. Your skill of analyzing is most crucial. And while analyzing a handwriting, if you want to know what you exactly have to do to make sure that you're on target and make sure you're on point, to just make sure you're observing things correctly. And remember, we are here to do handwriting analysis. We are not here to do handwriting judgment. So when you see somebody's handwriting, you see some negative or positive trait, it should not make us. It's not what I would say. It's not create an annoyance or a happiness within us. It has to be neutral, like a professional. Like when you go to a lawyer and you explain their case, or you go to a doctor and you explain the case. Yes, you have some trouble, but they don't associate with the trouble at an emotional level. You have to be professional. So when you're a graphologist, you see something in a writing which is good or bad, you have to say it to the person and let the other person decide whether it's good or bad for them. Because one point of observation which will be good for a certain person may not be good for another one. So when you're analyzing writings, make sure your observation is unbiased and the way you express it should be also unbiased. And in terms of graphology, if you want to be successful in graphology, the only thing you require is skill. Once your skill of handwriting analysis is good, then everything else rolls in after that. All right. So another question that's come up. Thank you very much for the questions, and yes, I'm. Thank you for my wishes. And today is my birthday, so I thought I would like to celebrate my birthday with doing the best of what I know what to do. And later on, like, I'll explain to you the importance of a birthday, which I found through the study of graphology, and maybe that could be beneficial for you. So we have another question here. What are the traits of angular connection? So angular connection shows a high level of mm, sharpness of mind and quick thinking. Now, in a situation where you're solving mathematical problems or you're taking care of some problem, then angular writing is a complement. But if you're trying to deal with a relationship, you're trying to deal with children, you're trying to enjoy a vacation, that time angular writing could be a detriment, could be a difficulty. So handwriting changes according to the requirement. It should change. So if you have angular writing where you're supposed to be sharp and analytical and getting things done correctly, then it's going to complement to you. All right. So let's have another question here. Okay, so what are the best graphology books you recommend for a beginner? So, fortunately or unfortunately, I'm not sure. I have not read too many books on graphology because most of the books which I've read were not up to the mark in terms of what I wanted to know as graphology. Because what happens is that once you read a book, then you're stuck with the knowledge which is there in that book and you can't think more than that. And generally, what happens is that graphology is a skill, it's not information. If you want information, you can go to a book. But if you want skill, you need a teacher. It's like you can't read a book and learn how to swim from a book. You have to dive in the water, and if you have a trainer or a guide, then that makes the process easier. So, with a guide or without a guide, you can practice graphology. Without the guide, it will take a bit longer for you to refine your skill. I have gone through that personally because there are certain concepts in graphology which I have discovered and conceptualized, but it took a long time, a lot of practice, and then finally you get observations. But if you have a guide, then that is what going to complete your journey much better. So I can't recommend any book for now, but certainly in the future, if I publish a book, you can have a read of it. But again, a book with a teacher is very important in graphology. All right, so we have another question here. So put some light on graphotherapy and how and how much to do. So graphotherapy is having multiple ways or different ways of getting done. So that, in my opinion, there are two ways to go through graphotherapy. You can either have a written form of graphotherapy where you write in a certain way, certain letter structures and certain practices every day, and then that tends to reprogram the mind. Like how changing the body language changes the mindset, same way changing the handwriting can change the mindset. But for this to work, you need to be a person whose lifestyle includes writing very regularly. If you're a student or a professional who writes very regularly, then written graphotherapy works wonders. I have personal experience of it, and as a student, I have used graphology, written graphotherapy, to the maximum benefit for my own improvement of academic performance, better friendships, better health. Multiple things happen. But if you're a person whose lifestyle doesn't include writing very regularly, then you can go for something called as non-written graphotherapy. In that, what happens is that I suggest certain body language changes and certain activities which you can do that have a subtle but persistent effect on the body and the mind. And within 3 to 4 weeks, you start to see changes. Now, if you want to see a full blown character change, where you want to completely change your character and be a new person, then that takes at least 6 to 9 months. So, if you start from today, 9 months later, 6 months later, you can be a different person. That's 100% guaranteed if your practice is good enough. But of course, the person providing graphotherapy, like in my case, the graphotherapy provided is one thing, but then the follow up sessions which happen weekly, that's very crucial. So when the client or the student sends the sample, I'm able to monitor the progress, and I've got folders in my computer where I monitor the progress of the person and see from where to where they've come. And every week, as the body language improves, then we can suggest more activities to improve their experience of life as such. But with graphotherapy, what happens is that first of all, we look at a problem from where the source of it is. Like, uh, let's say you have a physical problem, you got a backache or a shoulder ache. Now, when you go to a medical professional, they're good at what they do, but mostly they will look at a problem only from the physical damage point of view. But if you got emotional or mental difficulties, then that is rarely addressed. So, in graphology and graphotherapy, what happens is that we look at a problem from where it's sourced. If it's a mental difficulty, if it's an emotional backlog, if it's a physical damage, we can observe that through the handwriting and start working on it from the source. And that's what probably makes it effective. All right, so I hope I've answered that question. And all right, thank you everybody for your kind wishes, and we'll carry on with some more questions. Uh, so, any other teacher you can recommend other than you? So, I have a few friends who are teaching graphology. I have some of my own students who teach graphology. So, if you can connect with me personally on email, I'll list it on my channel. So you can connect with me on email, and I'll be happy to forward you the numbers of the students who I would recommend, or teachers who I would recommend for you to go for. And then what will happen is that you can connect with them, and sure, once you give them my reference, they will be happy to cater to you much better. Sometimes what happens is that my difficulty in reaching or talking in a different language may or may not make things comfortable for certain people, and that's perfectly fine. So, if you're having a certain requirement of graphotherapy or graphology in a certain language, you can mention that also in the email. And I've got different students from different cultures, different backgrounds, different languages that can cater to your requirement. All right. So next, so if you want to know the charges of what I do for graphotherapy, you can email me and I'll send you the details, because the charges vary on the level of requirement and the level of modules that we use in graphotherapy. Okay, so next question is, what traits does Felons Claw represent? Now, I'm not sure what Felons Claw is because I've not learnt about it much, but if you could send me a picture on email or WhatsApp, you can take down my WhatsApp number. It's +91 777 6000042. My WhatsApp number is +91 777 6000042. You can send me the image of any query that you have right now, and once I look at it, then I can answer to you. All right. It's nice to meet everybody online, and thank you very much for joining me so early in the morning. All right. So I wanted to explain to you all the concept of a birthday. Since today is my birthday, I thought I would share with you the thoughts which I have, which I found in graphology about what the birthday is. So what I've seen is that those people who find what they are meant to do while they are here on Earth, their birthdays seem very different, very purposeful, you could say. Because right now on the Earth, what's happening is that there are too many of us. There are many human beings on Earth, and honestly, as a species, we are not a complement to the Earth. Our damage to the natural environment is way much more than our benefit to the environment. The Earth would be much better with our absence. So that's a alarming thing for us. So, as a consciousness or as a requirement to improve our status as a species, we need to find something that we are good at and something that we can use to serve. Now, you don't have to be good to anybody. You can just be good to yourself. You can just be, if you're a healthy person and if you're a happy person and you can do all this without hurting anybody or hurting the environment, that's more than enough. You don't have to serve the community. You don't have to be a teacher or a lawyer. You can just be a simple person, quietly do your stuff, go home, relax. And if you're happy, that's more than sufficient. And if in case you want to do more than that, then it's very important for you to find something that you're good at. You could be anything. You could be a homemaker, you could be a teacher, you could be a counselor, you can be a farmer, a gardener, anything. But as long as you're happy doing something that way, then it's very crucial because your birthday, when your birthday comes, then you should feel that your birth has been of some use to the community. If you feel useless or if you feel that you're not done anything much, then go and do something. It could be anything. It could be even charity. It could be even helping somebody. You're good at mathematics, go and help a student to be better at mathematics. If you're good at cooking something, go and cook something for somebody. If you're good at counseling or or talking to people, go and talk to somebody. So I'm sure you at any point of life there's something that you will be good at, right? So once you find what you're good at, then you can connect with me. You can connect with me personally, and I can show you probably through handwriting analysis what you could possibly be good at. So that's the thing which I wanted to discuss. All right. So I there's a question here that do I provide a course in Hindi? So I don't have notes that are in Hindi, but while I teach graphology, I do speak in Hindi and I can teach in Hindi. Of course, the Hindi is extremely broken, but 90% of the topic you would understand anyway. So if you have a requirement to learn graphology with the aspect of Hindi language, then you can connect with me. I'll be happy to cater to that. All right. So which book do you prefer for graphology analysis? So if you ask me which book I prefer for graphology analysis, it's a completely blank book. Take a blank book, put it in front of a person, get a hunting sample, and start analyzing. You can use my YouTube videos for understanding what letter structures are. And if you find that letter structure in the handwriting, go and talk to the person about it, and I'm sure you'll have some fun. Okay. So where am I from? I am from the city of Pune. I earlier used to live in Mumbai, and although the location is Pune, but because of the internet, my location can be everywhere because the internet allows you to do that. So it doesn't matter where you're from or who you are. I can be wherever you want need me to be as long as you come online. Okay. So do you have a favorite letter and why? Okay, that's interesting. So I do have a favorite letter. I mean, graphologically speaking, I do have a favorite letter, and my most favorite letter is letter O. The letter O seems to have a tremendous amount of information. It's got so much information in terms of health and wealth, education, body dynamics, body processes. If you are good at analyzing only the letter O, you can at least say a minimum of 35 to 40 points of analysis just based on letter O. So if you'd like to learn more about this letter structure, you can connect with me. And for now, this is my most favorite letter structure. Of course, different languages have different letter structures, and with different languages, you tend to understand different thought patterns too. All right, thank you. So the next question is, what trait does handwriting in between the lines represent? So when you say in between the lines, so are you talking about a ruled paper? So if you have a ruled paper with two lines, with multiple lines, and if you write in middle of it, it shows that you would like to have space, your own way of doing things. And in an environment where rules and regulations are enforced, You are aware of them, but you like to perform them in their own way. So it's kind of like a student who's been told to do his homework, and the teacher asks him to submit the homework within 2 hours. So the student knows that he's got 2 hours to perform the homework, but during these 2 hours, he doesn't want to be bothered. He'll do it at his own pace. All right. So next question is: someone is not getting married. Can graphology help? Yes, I do have a bit of experience of getting people into trouble. I mean, marriage is a good life experience. I'm just joking. It's a wonderful experience, but getting married is all about who you are as a person. Because right now on earth, as I mentioned earlier, that there are too many people. For any eligible man, there are a million eligible women. And for every eligible woman who wants to get married, there are a million men. How are you going to search for everybody? Even if everybody's profile and their bio and their pictures come in front of you, how many years are you going to spend looking at each photo? And do you think you'd be able to know a person through a profile? So, frankly speaking, the whole aspect of marriage can only work for a person once they know who they are themselves. And it's very important for you to find your own happiness before you get into a marriage, because if you wait for somebody else to make you happy, that's not going to work for too long. So if you're happy independently and then you step into a marriage, or then if you step into searching for somebody, almost exactly what you want, exactly what is good for you, will come in front of you. If you want graphotherapy in regards to this, you can connect with me, and certainly we can make sure that your mindset, your body language, and your overall energy is more inviting to relationships. All right. So, next question: any graphology course you give? Yes, I do conduct many courses in graphology. I have over 12 courses, 12 different courses that I provide in graphology. I can take you from knowing nothing about graphology to a full-time professional who can earn from graphology an income good enough to run the house. So it depends on how deep you want to go, depends on how far you want to go. You can connect with me. I'll guide you on what the available courses. My fee structure is normal, and I normally have this condition that I let my student pay whenever they are comfortable, because normally I'm here to teach. And when you teach graphology, the person's potential increases. So what you may not be able to afford now, later you could afford once you start working with graphology. All right. So next is which letter do you always suggest changing? So there's no letter that you suggest changing, but there's this one trait in graphology called as pen flick. Like I'll just show you. I have my typical blackboard and chalk, which is essential for a teacher. So there's this stroke called as a pen flick. So you see this. So these two strokes are starting with the same intensity, but this one is ending with a flick, and this one is ending with thickness. So this is a don't do this one. Do this one. All right. When any letter you write, doesn't matter letter, number, drawing, whatever. Avoid pen flicks. Make sure that you end the letter structure with a pen stop. What a pen flick or pen stop is, that takes around an hour or two to explain. That is there in my course. But for now, I'm just saying avoid pen flicks. Your life will be very beautiful, amazingly peaceful, very harmonious. Relations get better, academic performance gets better, money gets better, health gets better if you just get rid of pen flicks. Okay. Of course, there are many other things that you can avoid, but just not this is the most important thing. All right, so we have another question here. How do you account for inconsistent writing? Okay. So inconsistent writing caused by the instrument. So okay, if your client or the student in front of you is using a bad quality pen, give them a good quality pen, and make sure that your tools are good for collecting the sample. It's like taking a blood report. If you're going to take a blood test of a blood sample which has been contaminated by external factors and you're not packaged it well, then obviously you're not in the right place. So make sure that you have a decent quality pen. It's not very expensive. In a $1 or $2 uh, pen which costs 30-40 bucks is good enough. So if you have good quality pen and paper, give a book. It's good to give a book, because if you give a single paper, sometimes the person takes the paper and puts it on his hand and write, put it on a table with a hard surface. It doesn't give a good sample. So give a book and a pen to a person, a pen that you know works well, a good book with good quality pages, good sitting posture, table and chair setup, a standard posture, and then collect a sample. So if you have a jagged pencil or a pen with inconsistent ink flow, then just avoid it. Just don't do it. Just don't do the analysis, because you're going to get it wrong. If the person has sent you the sample with a bad quality pen and paper, then just tell the person, please write again with a better quality pen and paper, because it avoids a lot of troubles later on. All right. So does graphology help you decide on a career? Well, it doesn't. It points you to a mindset that may uh, cater to a certain career, but it's more about the attitude towards a career. You may be good at mathematics, but if your attitude is not good, you will not be able to perform anyway. So first comes attitude, and then comes career. Because if you're, let's say for example, I love gaming, but my attitude for gaming is relaxation. I don't want to use gaming for earning money, because then I feel it would make stress for me. Graphology was a hobby. It turned into a passion. It turned into something which I could earn from. So that is where it became a career. If you are, let's say, good at law, you studied law, but your attitude towards law is that you don't want to work too much in it, then of course you're not going to make a career out of it. So first, you through graphotherapy or graphology, you straighten your attitude and you make your attitude welcoming for the responsibilities and the difficulties and the challenges and the joy of the profession. Every profession has its downs and ups. So if you're willing to cater to that, then that attitude will make you more successful in career than any career choice particularly. So once your career choice is certain, make sure before that your attitude is correct. Okay. So next is are the traits of O in your video. So yeah, I got letter capital O and small O available in the videos. So you can go to my channel and search for the letter O. You'll see capital O and small o. You can have a look at what it means and see if it matches with your handwriting. Okay. So next question is, what is more accurate in graphology? Letter specifics or rhythm of writing? Okay. So rhythm in writing will show you the character and habits of the person, and letter specifics will show the thoughts and the actions behind those habits and characters. So both are essential. Alone, if you analyze only letter specifics, you'll get half a picture. So it's good to have both of these concepts in tune. So sometimes I analyze the letter structure and then I go to the paragraph structure, a line structure, to just see how things match. It makes things very interesting. All right. So next question is, student not getting concentration for studies. Okay. So if there's a student who is not able to concentrate for studies, the primary problem is that lack of interest. Because human beings are built for concentration. Our minds are built to focus on things, because in our evolution we have been for a long time cave people. For a long time we've been nomadic and villagers, and we've had to focus on things quite a lot. So if you're not able to focus on studies, it's the major problem of lack of interest. So first you generate interest in studies. Whatever, by nowadays you can, any topic in a boring textbook has got a corresponding video online. So you can make it interesting by visuals and pictures and experiences. So let's say if your child wants to learn about a dog or a cat, so either you learn from a textbook or you put the child in front of a dog and cat and let the child experience it. So only audio and visual input for education may make things a bit boring. So try to use all the five senses to gain information about a topic, and then things might get a bit interesting. Okay. All right. So next is okay. So if anybody wants my phone number for connect with me on WhatsApp, here it is. I mentioned my contact number. You can go ahead. So next one, we got quite a few questions here coming up, so that's going to be interesting. All right, next question is, what do loops in letter V and W signify? The writing is hard to decipher because there are so many loops. So now it depends on where the loop is there in letter V and W. So if letter V has got a loop over here, it's got a different meaning. If it's over here, it's got a different meaning. Loops generally mean creativity. But if loop is then a letter structure that doesn't require a loop, then that same creativity becomes manipulation. Like let's take for example, I'm here right now talking to you all on a live video. So there's not much creativity required. I just need a comfortable chair, a decent t-shirt, and I just need to look okay, and I can just come online. Now, if I wear a goggles and a fancy hat and some jewelry and some tattoos, then that creativity is unnecessary. So it looks like manipulation, right? It looks like complications. So unnecessary loops in a letter structure that originally doesn't require it just leads to complications. So you look at the video of letter V and W, whatever it means, it becomes complicated if you add a loop to that letter structure. Okay. Next, are there any research going on regarding to graphology and cancer? Yes, I have been observing cancer and its relation to graphology for last almost, yeah, almost now 18 years. So not not 18 years. So I've had experiences with certain family members and relatives and friends having for having cancer. I learned graphology 16 years ago. So I was studying about cancer before that, and when I learned graphology, so you could say last 16 years I've been studying about graphology and cancer, and yes, you can detect to a certain level how things can go bad very quickly, and I've been fortunate enough to warn certain people in regards to this. Because what happens with cancer is that cancer can be triggered by a certain mindset of lack of balance in life, lack of, let's say, ignorance of the body. So if you're ignorant to your body's clear signs that it is in trouble, then that can be rectified through handwriting. So ignorance of body signals and inconsistency in harmony of life, like work and rest, play and study. If you lack the harmony of these aspects of life, then cancer is a higher possibility. You can see that through handwriting, you can correct it. Now, I'm not a medical professional. My knowledge and understanding of cancer is very limited. But through the experiences what I've had, we can certainly at least detect or understand the severity of it. Okay, so next question is, do you practice meditation? Yes, I do practice meditation, and I have various ways of practicing meditations. So one of the most fun ways which I feel, which I can explain to y'all today, and maybe it can be beneficial for y'all, is just to wash hands slowly. So when you go to the wash basin and you are washing hands, just wash your hands slowly. Just feel the water flow. In fact, when you're doing anything with water, just be mindful during that time. Because what happens is normally when people go towards meditation and they want to uh, bring some peace to their mind, normally when they sit down to meditate and they close their eyes, I've seen many people getting more agitated after the meditative meditation session because they're thinking all difficult and negative thoughts. So what happens is that there's a 5 minute patch in your day that you're trying to do meditation and the rest of your day is so disturbed. And that doesn't make things effective. So what is happening is that we use water to bring about a meditative state of mind. And since we touch water very often in the day while drinking water, washing hands, or um, you know anything to do with water, you can be washing some clothes or you're having a bath, anything to do with water. So there are at least 5 to 6 times, 10 times a day you're touching water. So 10 times a day, if you have even 5 seconds of meditative focus, it can affect you quite well. So try it out and connect with me later on. So we have another question here. What if the lower part of G or Y goes and pokes in previous letters? Okay. So if your letter structure invade or clash into another letter structure, it just shows that you're not giving individual space to your thoughts. It shows that your thoughts are being rushed, and that may reduce the efficiency of your actions. What if the middle case part of letter B is too big, almost as big as the uppercase? So when letter structure sizes become larger than usual, that means you want to express more. So if you know the meaning of a letter, you attach that to the expression or desire to express more, you can see the link between. But it's very difficult to explain all this if I've not taught you, or I mean, normally this is easier to explain in a classroom setup. So you can connect with me, and once we sign up for a course, then I can explain to you in much better detail. All right, so you've got a quite a few questions lined up, so I'm happy to answer as much as we can. Next is how long have you been in a graphologist? Since I've been a graphologist since 2005. I started learning graphology when I just started my graduation. So I was very fortunate to be in a situation where I used to learn graphology and then go and practice it on my friends at the college and my teachers and anybody writing on the blackboard. I used to wonder what's their mindset. And I've been very fortunate to get samples that way. It's good fun. But it's been an amazing journey. So let's say I've finished 16 years so far. What does it mean if the writing is connected most of the time but disconnected certain times? So it's good to have a balance between connected and disconnected writing. If you have all letters connected all the time, you're going to be a very boring person within a short period of time. Because then what happens is that normally people who connect letters too much, like let's say a 10 letter word or 15 letter word constantly connected, you're going to be a very talkative person, almost to the point where you're inconsiderate whether the other person is understanding or relating to what you're talking to. But if you have breaks in the middle of the connections, like if you have a 5 to 4 letter word, you don't need a break in the connections. But if you have a word which is more than 5 to 6 letters, 7 letter, 8 letter, then it's very good to have a certain break, and automatically your hand will tell you where to make a break in the word. So having a combination of connected and disconnected handwriting can actually be a good balance between continued connectivity of thoughts and creativity. Creativity. Okay. So next is so why insisting samples are to be written in blue color? So is it because ballpoint pen is lighter? So the reason why we recommend blue color ink while collecting a sample is because blue color has a psychological effect of being open-minded and being more receptive. Based on physics also, blue colors have got a maximum refraction, so it tends to dissipate much more. It has a psychological effect, and the process and the situation of handwriting analysis becomes more easier for the graphologist because it becomes open-minded. What happens is that graphology is at a very nascent stage and people don't know what to expect from handwriting analysis. So having an environment where the person receiving the analysis and the person giving analysis both are open-minded is very good for the experience. What happens with black pen is that we can do analysis. There's no problem about it. But then normally with the black pen I've seen is that the person is looking out for a certain aspect of analysis and nothing else. They're a bit more focused, a bit more formal in a way of interaction. Okay. All right. So next question is, can I put a 6 on my signature of letter G? Yeah, you can do whatever you want in your signature. If your signature has got more clarity, it shows a clarity in personality. If you have creativity in your signature, it shows creativity as a personality. It depends on your lifestyle. There's no right or wrong signature, it's just an opinion. Yes or no, if it's good for you or bad for you. For that, you need to compare your signature to your original handwriting. The further away your signature is from your original handwriting, the slightly more complicated life becomes. Okay. So next is, can I share my handwriting sample on WhatsApp? Yes. You got my WhatsApp number on this chat box. You can send in a sample of writing, and as soon as I get free, whenever I do get free, I'll be happy to connect with you, talk to you about handwriting, video or audio call live. I'll talk to you about what I see in the writing. And if you require graph therapy, if it's required, if you feel you want to go for it, then that's a different option. All right. So next is usually a word starting with the lowercase l, whether it is to be written as a flexor or extensor. So usually letter L is written with a flexor, it's written downwards, but it's a choice. You can write upwards also. But when if you write upward extensor L letter structure, then it might become difficult for you to connect it to the next letter. So it depends. Normally flexor is better. Is there any particular age to learn graphology, or is it just a choice? After age of 7, anybody can learn graphology. I've had students as young as age of 7 all the way up to the age of 72. So it's anyway, it's a fun aspect to learn graphology. Initially, most of the people when they enter graphology, they don't know what to expect because it's a new subject. So initially it's fun, but as they start working with it, then it becomes a bit serious in terms of how it changes your life. All right. So next question is, can graphology be applicable to adolescents because their handwriting is changing constantly? So yes, in adolescent age of life where the elders of the family find it difficult to deal with their young ones. It's not actually a difficulty. It's just that in the adolescent stage, the mind's programming, the mind's development is about to get over. So now that child who's now getting into a slightly mature stage of life is going to be questioning things. And when the elders don't want to answer the question, that's where the problem starts. So the elders of the family should be receptive to questions and should be ready to answer. Of course, sometimes it's not easy to answer all the questions, and we don't have answers to everything. But there's always a politer way to deal with things that way. Okay, so what is the mindset of someone who doesn't capitalize their own name? Capital letters is a form of energy. It shows the energy of starting something new or giving significance and importance to something. So when you don't use a capital letter, apart from it being a wrong grammar, it's just that you don't give enough importance to yourself, or you don't want to highlight anything much about yourself. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're humble. I've seen many people who've got small letter structures as their first letter in their writing, and there's nothing about humility or humbleness over there. It's just that where they're supposed to gain an advantage, where they're supposed to celebrate life, they don't. And then if they complain about how boring or very lackluster the life is, I mean, they're to blame themselves. So if you're here for living on earth, like normally when a baby is born, I'm saying normally I wish the person that welcome to the party on earth. This party goes on for 70 to 80 years. Have fun. So you're here on earth for having a party. That's life. So if you don't enjoy, then you're missing out on the fun. You're answerable to yourself. Okay. So another question is that I write cursive in book, but if I write same block on the blackboard, becomes totally disconnected. So writing on the book requires slight finger and wrist movement, whereas writing on the board, on the blackboard, requires elbow movement and shoulder movement. So as the movement structure and body language changes, then handwriting will change because it's directly related to the way the body moves. All right. So we have, let's say, another 8 minutes left. So have a. I just wanted to tell you that the session will end in another 5 to 8 minutes. We'll take up as many questions as we can till then, and if there are more questions, we can have another session online live very soon. Okay. So the next thing is that, as per graphology, what's the best way to improve memory retention? Oh, can you please suggest some handwriting or signature techniques for memory retention? So, memory retention through graphology is you can have better letter structures, make sure letter structures are well made and very good connections. But if you want to retain memory in real life, put some emotion in it. Emotion has got a very strong value, very strong influencing factor for increasing memory. Not only the things that you remember in your childhood or in your younger years is all linked to some kind of emotion. Okay. Even if you studied something, if you're, let's say you want to study something, you want to remember something properly, enjoy it as an emotion and see if it makes you feel happy. That emotion will make your memory retention much better. All right. Can graphology help to grow in career? Yes, it can, 100%. As you work on yourself, graphology helps you to work on yourself. So if you work on yourself, your career will grow, certainly. So which letter is responsible for introverted mindset? So there's no letter directly involved for introverted mindset, but if you generally have a smaller size writing, generally a person with a smaller size writing tends to be very selective about the way they express themselves. Can graphology be used in forensic science and in other fields as well? So yes, graphology can be used in forensic science. I've had certain experiences with forgery of signatures and documents, but I avoid that line of work because it's a bit ugly. It's actually quite easy as a graphologist, but it's a line of work which I'm not really interested in. But yes, you can be a forensic scientist with the help of graphology. With graphology, you can be an HR executive who can do recruitment analysis much better. You can be a teacher and use graphology as a complement so that you can understand your students better. You can be a homemaker and understand your families better so you can interact with them in a much better way. So graphology can be used in various fields, and it can be an add-on to your existing knowledge. Okay, the next question is, in a signature other than the first letter, if all letters are small, what it means? So that's a good grammar, right? So if you have a first letter as capital and the rest of your name as small, that's a good grammar. It's a good representation. It shows that you are educated. Okay. If they are not very prominent. Okay, so if your letter structure is not prominent, then in your signature, that means that the personality which you want to represent is not going to be very clear to people. Now, this can be useful if your profession requires you to hide your personality, but it can be a detriment or it can be negative if you have a lifestyle which is simple and you're trying to hide anyway. All right, so it's an honor to meet you also online live, and I'm happy to answer to your queries. It's a joy for me. All right. Next question is, can we use paintings instead of writing? Yes, you can. If your handwriting analysis skill and your skill of graphology is good enough, you can analyze any painting, any drawing, any coloring. So normally when small children come to me and they show me a coloring aspect of them, we can sometimes come to know the parents' mindset through the drawing of the child. So yes, that can be done. Can graphology help in career clarity? Yes, and I've got a video especially for that. So you can go to my video Career and Clarity. There's a video on my channel. You can have a look at it. It will give you a very good way to understand what's good for you in terms of career. All right, last 3 minutes and then we'll close for the session for today. Thank you very much. So sometimes my lowercase letter I is followed by the following letters. So if your letters are getting overlapped or swallowed or overwritten, give it space. Give it some space. 1 millimeter space is good enough. Have a gap. All right. So people in the US, it's a bit late for you. Sorry. So I'll be saying goodbye in a minute or two, and good night to you. And sleep well. Hopefully, this session has brought value to you. Thank you very much. And this live streaming session was quite a bit fun, and it's really interesting to answer the questions. I'm happy to cater to your queries. As a teacher, it's always fun to answer questions, and whether it's here in the classroom, either way. So, thank you very much. Have a lovely and beautiful day, night, afternoon, wherever you're from. I'm from India. Right now, it's 10 a.m., and my day is about to get on the roll. So, good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Have a lovely time, and catch you again later on another live streaming session. You will be informed if you're subscribed, and not only in this, but also on Instagram or on Facebook or on YouTube. We'll try to have live sessions on different channels so we can connect with more people and have answers to their queries. All right. Thank you very much, and all the best to you all. Good day.